Next thing we had was a little bit of news as it pertains to Roman Wilson. Obviously, this came from Bob Labriola. Anybody that knows Bob Labriola, that's the guy that gets to talk to Coach Tomlin before every game. Gets the one-on-one sit down. Give me all the info, Coach T, all the deep, dark secrets heading into this game. That's Bob Labriola. Bob Labriola is locked all the way in with the gang, all right? So with that, though, when you're talking about, his reports, they, to me, hold a little bit more weight. So the report that came out from Bob Labriola, he was specifically asked about Roman Wilson and, why the team didn't seem to, utilize him at any point last year, even though, he was hurt. Even when he was healthy, he never really seemed to have any type of, role per se. And basically what he said was the team did not have a high level of confidence in Roman Wilson last year. Basically, in terms of his ability to pick up the offense, that was where he really put his emphasis as it pertained to Roman Wilson's inability to get on the field. And part of that, I can understand. I do also understand how when a report like that comes out, it is very loud. It's very spicy. Why? Because it comes off as if this player, number one, is a bust. This player, number two, isn't smart enough to figure it out. Or the coaching staff needs to, figure it out as well. I think all three of those things can be true. And I think in a way, all three things are true. When we're talking about Roman Wilson, the bust element, sure, when you have a first year like how he had, that puts you closer in the category of bust than it puts you to the category of knock it out the park, steal of the draft, right? Just simple terms that way. Not saying that he's one or the other. I personally don't think it's anything. I think it's just an incomplete because you got hurt out the gate, kind of like Calvin Austin. So that was the first thought process, man. The second thing that I would say is this, in terms of him not being able to pick up the offense, man, there's a lot of dudes that, have talked about how complicated it can be to play in Arthur Smith's system, even as a wide receiver, even with it being more of a run-based attack. It's a lot of check with me at the line of scrimmage. It is a lot of you, wide receiver, and quarterback being on the same page visually without hard checks. One route has three different options off of it solely based on the alignment and depth of the defensive back. When you're, quarterback and you're working with the guy that you've worked with for a long time, you guys are, have a nice synergy. So you see that DB playing off coverage. He already knows, man, this is a stop route. That DB is off coverage, but slightly inside. It's an out route. That DB is pressed up with inside leverage. We're going vertical. Right? Just a three different type options, hypotheticals, of course, just like that. Now you get in a scenario and you get this young kid and he doesn't understand that and he doesn't pick it up fast enough that you can put him out there in real game situations where blitzes are coming, dudes are getting beat, everything is happening, and it's like, play at your best, high level, get open. I need to get you the ball right now and don't forget to catch it. Yeah. That's a lot. And not everybody is capable of picking that up, especially when you talk about the amount of time that Roman had missed due to some of the injuries that he has sustained as well in training camp and earlier in the season. So with that also being at play, that's the part where I'm like, yeah, I can understand. First year you treat it like it's a red shirt. It's a dud of a year. You've been hurt too much. Unfortunately, man, you're not able to get on this moving train. It is what it is. We saw how Calvin Austin was able to come back, and we love what we've been seeing from Calvin Austin. So I think of Roman Wilson very similarly that way. But then the other side I will say from a coaching standpoint is this, man, yeah, for the coach, you don't get to go out there, but at the same time, it is your job to prepare these guys to the best of their ability, to the best of your ability, and to get the most out of these players. And if this player is struggling to grasp it, you as the coach have to take more accountability to find ways to help this player receive that information and apply that information at a high manner. Now, the problem is also this. that player still has to go out there and execute it. You can talk to you blue in the face, talk about every X and O. He still has to go out there and do it. And that's the part where you already know how I feel when it comes to that. I'm like, yo, it's on the player. But coach still has a role and coach still matters. And I'm talking about wide receiver coach, offensive coordinator as well, man, because those are the guys that have direct impact on the wide receiver and on, his role in production or lack thereof. So that's kind of how I see it with Roman, man. But man, if I'm one of those dudes, man, that's in his ear, I'm telling him, bro, keep your head up, man. Everybody has adversity. Everybody, if you play this game long enough, you're going to have some moments where you feel like it's about to be over. And Lord willing, man, you play long enough that you get to look back on that moment and say, y'all thought y'all had me. You thought this was the day that you were going to release off the Moats, but you didn't get me that year either. All right. So, yeah, treat it like that, man. But shout out to Roman Wilson, though, man. But like I said, man, it's definitely a challenge, though, man. Whenever you're a young player, man, drafted guy, you're going to have expectations. You're going to have a lot of people just hopeful that you can be a part of the reason why we get back to winning playoff games, why we get back to the Super Bowl, why we win us a Lombardi again. So with that, man, those expectations sometimes can be a lot. And unfortunately for Roman, when you come out and you get the injuries the way that he did, it's like, dang, going, man. Like it puts you at a little bit of a disadvantage, right or wrong, right? Not saying that he deserved to, be viewed at how he's viewed, but when you're drafted where you're drafted, third round guy, along with coming off of being a national champion at Michigan, yeah, we're going to have expectations that you should be able to come in here. And remember, people were saying, yo, he's an instant upgrade over Deontay Johnson. And it's like, bro, it's the reason why I say what I say about some of these players, because these professional players are professionals for a reason. Regardless of what we might be hopeful of or what we might say out of spite and emotion, those feelings don't change actual production at this level. And that's the part for Roman that he's going to have to get in the lab and just make sure that he fine tunes his craft, stays healthy, and hits the ground running. Because once you drop that first year to injury or bad play, the clock is ticking faster in year two, because now there's a sense of urgency from the organization to figure out, did we make a mistake or are we going to be all right? Because if we made a mistake, we don't want to keep waiting. We want to go ahead and change that and get it rectified now. But if it just took you a little bit of time, well, hey, that's all you have to say. All right. So that's what we got to figure out real quick with Roman. But it's going to be interesting, man, with him, man, as he continues this offseason, man, because, yeah, you heard how we've been talking. Wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. All right. It's all funny games. So you actually go get that wide receiver. You draft that one. Now we start looking in that room and it's like, okay, we're starting to get a little crowd all of a sudden. We're going to bring something else in here. Oh, all right. Now we got that, and that. Oh, all right. And now it gets weird. So for Roman, get right, speed recovery, but you got to hit the ground running, man. Clock is ticking, baby. Clock is ticking.